I'm here at Chilenja Market in Lusaka, Zambia, and tons of food is thrown away every day.
Did you know that in sub-Saharan Africa, up to 40% of our fruit and vegetable is wasted before it reaches the customer?
What a waste.
Uganda is losing mountains of fruits and veggies every day. What if a tiny sachet could save these tons of fruits and veggies from rotting? How do you save your bananas when they've turned brown? Banana bread? Banana milk? Moonlucky does it the Ugandan way. She turns them into fried pancakes, mixing them with cassava flour.
When I make pancakes, I don't recover all the losses, but at least I gain something. I get something out of it.
But often, there's too much waste. What she can't use, she throws away and pays for it to be collected.
The rubbish is also expensive. It's expensive, and those people don't want to know. Or why you've made losses, or I did not sell anything. It's okay.
Approximately 1.3 billion tons of food produced is wasted. On the African continent, up to 40% spoils before reaching the consumers. Uganda's storage and transport system is failing, and researchers say the consequences go far beyond rotting fruit.
Close to 70% of municipal waste in Kampala is food waste. These rot promote growth of microorganisms, increase the spread of diseases. They are public nuisance.
The rapid decomposition of organic waste is responsible for 58% of methane emissions. Methane is to blame for around 30% of the rise in global temperatures. And decomposing garbage isn't just a problem in the capital, Kampala. If too many pineapples ripen at once, farmers can't find buyers. Some have dumped their harvest by the roadside after losing hope. Once pineapples ripen, they go bad fast. I tried selling them in Mityana, where they aren't grown, but they didn't sell. To address this problem, Makerere University has trained over 2,000 students in food processing and preservation. Here, fruits are turned into pulp and pasteurized. What would spoil in a week can now last more than a year if refrigerated. Even the waste has value. Orange peel, for example, contains pectin, used as a thickener and a gelling agent.
Pectin is the one which provides strength for the fruit. So these acidic fruits, some of them, like citrus fruits, are believed to have a lot of pectin. Pectin acts as a stabilizer in dairy products and also in jam making.
But back to the fruit vendors at the Kampala market. One scientist has found a way to make the vendors' produce last longer without refrigeration. Biotechnologist Gift Arnold Mugisha developed the idea as a student at Makerere University. His solution uses nanotechnology, extremely small materials engineered to work at a microscopic level. We are talking minuscule. A single nanoparticle can be as small as 1 to 100 nanometers wide, and a nanometer is up to 100,000 times smaller than a human hair. Nanomaterials have unique physical and chemical qualities that differ from conventional materials. Their properties can be adapted at this microscopic level. Mugisha uses that to produce bio-based nanoenzymes to improve the longevity of fruits. He discovered that by surrounding fruits with these enzymes, he can extend their shelf life by up to 31 days.
We use electrospinning technology to be able to create nanofibers, which nanofibers are blended into our formulation that we pack in our sachets, like you see here. They are able to infiltrate the fruit on a molecular level.
The sachets release natural compounds that interact with gases around the fruit, slowing activity of microbes and enzymes that cause decay.
Because this tomato is alive. It's alive, it's breathing, it's respiring. So what we do, we curtail those processes and we keep the tomato metabolizing at a very slower state.
But the sachets can also have the opposite effect if farmers need faster ripening to meet market demand.
I can give an example of plantain. Plantain comes from the field when it's green. But for consumers, and to unlock the nutrients, plantain is more nutrient filled when it's ripened up. So with this, we are able to accelerate that ripening and provide fruit very quickly for consumption or for sale.
Today, more than 500 vendors are using the sachets, primarily in Kampala. 2 big Ugandan food exporters have also adopted them. Vendors say Mugisha's sachets make a big difference, even if improvement is needed. The sachets that accelerate ripening still need work, but those that delay ripening appear to be effective. Beyond food security and income, food waste is a global public health and environmental issue. Reducing food loss is not just about saving crops.
So when fruits spoil, the energy, the water, the resources, the transportation that has been used in transporting, growing these fruits is wasted. That means there is another reinvestment that is done, which increases, actually it doubles the carbon footprint.
With further funding, Mugisha aims to scale distribution across Uganda's food industry. His work shows how technological solutions can be significant in rising to global challenges and help feed people on the ground here in Uganda.
During research for my report, I learned that nearly 40% of all food produced in Africa is wasted every year. That really stayed with me. And when I was filming, what stood out was how much resource and effort goes into food production, yet this food doesn't make it to consumers, even as many people go hungry every day. It made me realize that the challenge isn't just about how much food we produce, but how we preserve it, distribute it, and consume it.
To grow our vegetable, we need sweet water. In Tanzania and Kenya, more than 2 million people depend on water from Mount Kilimanjaro and Mount Kenya, which together with the Rwenzori Mountains hold the last glaciers in Africa. But rivers are drying up, weather patterns are changing. Will communities be able to adapt?
Finally, the water is flowing again. Robert Njogu Karanja's potato plants are in full bloom and need a drink regularly. But water is now a precious commodity at the foot of Mount Kenya.
Before climate change hit us, the rain patterns were very predictable. On March 15th, there would be rainfall, but this year it started on March 5th. That never used to happen.
From droughts to heavy rain, the weather here has changed dramatically. Another problem: warming temperatures are rapidly melting Mount Kenya's ice reserves. Around 95% of its glaciers have disappeared. By 2030, the ice caps which have crowned Mount Kenya since the last ice age could be gone completely. Africa's glaciers have long revealed how rapidly the Earth's climate is changing. The water supply of the entire region depends on their meltwater. Time is running out for small farmers in the valley. To survive, they need to adapt to the changed conditions as quickly as possible. The first challenge: how to best use the available water. On the wind-sheltered side of the mountain, the farmers use hand-dug ponds to collect rainwater. Each pond can hold up to 100,000 liters of water. A solar-powered pump transports the water to fields higher up the slope.
The water ponds help us harvest rainwater, but our main challenge is that when the dry season is prolonged, the water levels go down and we do not have dam liners. So if we could get dam liners, we could store water for longer periods.
The ponds help to conserve the water that's available, which is key. The strawberries on his farm are kept supplied with drip irrigation, which uses very little water. His neighbor Anthony Wanjigi previously dug 2 new wells on his farm, but both have since dried up again.
So vile tunajaribu kuencourage wakulima wajaribu kuharvest.
We are trying to encourage farmers to harvest the water that's available. Since everyone has a rooftop over their home, we ask them to collect the water and store it in tanks for use at home. Water from the river is also okay, but there's so many who rely on it. So when we harvest rainwater or dig boreholes, like I have in my house, so that everyone has water to use.
Ndio tujaribu kuweka maji, kila mtu awe na maji yake ya kutumia.
Collecting rainwater helps during the worst dry periods, but if the water table drops too low, there's still a problem. The last drought took a heavy toll on Anthony Wanjigi's avocado trees, leaving them vulnerable to pests and diseases. To improve things long term, the soil needs to be revitalized. The highest point of this farm now hosts a small grove of trees that store water. The seedlings come from his own nursery. In the meadow below, he's planted napier grass. This low-maintenance grass has an extensive root system reaching up to 4.5 meters deep into the soil. There, it finds water, prevents erosion, and stops minerals from being washed away. The animals on the farm are real fans too. It's very nutritious, and studies show that napier grass can save up to 48% on water. The next step is to convince the farmers not to rely on just one crop. They are receiving support from the Kenyan Ministry of Agriculture. Mary Wahito Wanjiro visits Mount Kenya regularly to advise the farmers.
We are really encouraging farmers to diversify in whatever they are practicing in their farms. They should not do the monocropping. They should adapt the intercropping and try as much as possible to plant multiple crops in their farms.
The more farmers diversify the crops they grow, the better they can adapt to climate change. Alongside the lucrative avocados, farmers here are now also growing hardy millet as well as various fruits and vegetables. The ministry supplies them with high-quality seeds and sustainable fertilizer. Mary Wanjiro looks at the farmers' books and advises on which crops to sow when. The ministry wants the farmers to form cooperatives in the long term to strengthen their position in the market.
We encourage and bring all the society people together, make sure they are in groups, self-help groups, and with that we are able to draw many partners who will engage them in contract farming. Apart from that, when they aggregate, they have the bargaining power of making sure that their produce are sold at a very profitable price.
If everything goes to plan, the Kenyan highlands will become a hotspot for high-quality food. Sustainability also sparks entirely new business ideas. Avocado farmer Anthony Wanjigi is now making good money with grafted avocado trees. He crosses the popular but water-hungry Hass avocados with native varieties, which are more resistant to pests and requires less water. Recently, he sold over 3,000 of his hybrid seedlings in a single day, a success story from Mount Kenya that will hopefully be followed by many more.
Two-thirds of our fresh water is stored in glaciers. So it's no wonder that researchers all over the world are taking a keen interest in them. Let's head to Europe for an expedition to the Alps.
We drilled this pole into the ice 4 days ago. So now I'm going to measure the distance from the glacier's surface to the mark on the pole. And I can see it's dropped by almost 37 centimeters. So it's melted by a considerable amount in such a few days. The glaciers in the Austrian Alps are rapidly disappearing, and with them a vital resource. High mountain regions are vulnerable ecosystems and act as water reservoirs, but glacial retreat and the melting of the snow cover is having dramatic consequences. The Glacier Space Project, a partnership between universities in Austria and Germany, is measuring climatic changes directly on the glacier. An 8-metre tall tower fitted with high-resolution sensors records temperature, wind and turbulence. The instruments show exactly how much and how quickly ice is melting. When glaciers shrink, it affects the regional climate. And that's what interests us most. What happens as glaciers get smaller? Are there feedback effects that could accelerate melting even further? And what does glacier loss mean for water? Glaciers feed our rivers. They're like the water towers of the world. But in many regions, their maximum possible water output has already passed or will shrink within the next 2 to 3 decades. The consequences will be severe. First floods, then droughts. Water is a key focus area of our research group. We have several ongoing projects. One of them is here. This is basic research aimed at understanding how processes work in a mountain region. Then we also have projects in Costa Rica and Uzbekistan. There, the focus is on how we can develop strategies to adapt in the future, when problems with water become even more extreme than they already are in some regions. Nearly 5,000 kilometers away in the Indian Himalayas, a method has been developed to retain water at high altitudes, using an artificial glacier. It was created by diverting mountain streams. The water sprays out like a geyser from a vertical pipe and freezes into a cone-shaped ice formation during the cold season, a so-called ice stupor. It remains frozen until the spring sun warms the fields and the plants can absorb the water. But time is running out. In the Himalayas, with its vast glacier fields, ice is retreating at an alarming rate, 26 billion tons per year. Up to 80% could disappear by the end of the century. East Africa's glaciers could be gone completely by 2050. And in Europe, up to 90% of alpine ice could vanish by the end of the century, unless we do everything in our power to halt climate change and global warming, as was actually agreed at the 2015 World Climate Conference in Paris. Of course, we've probably already missed the target of limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. But there's still time to turn things around, to find ways of reducing emissions and stabilizing the climate so that we will still keep our glaciers for a few more years.
Now let's take you to the stars. The Karoo is a vast semi-desert in South Africa that covers around 1/3 of the country. Now, it is so inhospitable that only very few people live there. That makes it ideal for an unusual partnership between soil and the stars.
Amy Levi-Sachi always dreamed of the stars like her forefathers, the Sand People of Southern Africa. Now 24, she teaches local students and tourists about how indigenous people interpreted the night sky, working as an astro guide.
It's basically about how we can combine the indigenous stories, which the Sand People here to tell regarding the cosmos, and to see how we can make a tourism experience out of it.
Amy Lee lives in the remote town of Carnarvon in the Karoo Desert. Its isolated location and dry, hot climate have created harsh living conditions for thousands of years. Yet these inhospitable conditions have also led to minimal light and electronic pollution, perfect for stargazing. So perfect, in fact, that the area has been chosen to build the world's largest radio telescope project, capable of detecting signals dating from the very beginnings of the universe. For this deprived area, the Square Kilometre Array, or SKA, is not only providing an economic boost. The SKA has the potential to revive the area's neglected ecosystem too, almost by chance. As part of South Africa's successful project BID, an area of 135,000 hectares surrounding the telescope site was declared the Meerkat National Park in 2020, located just 90 kilometers from Carnarvon. The park was not meant for tourism, but to protect the sensitive astronomical instruments from interference. But this special status is allowing conservationists and researchers to begin to restore the fragile ecosystem and undo the damage caused by centuries of farming and overgrazing. Wynand Kalitz is a botanist who studies quiver tree populations in the park. These iconic succulents are indigenous to South Africa and Namibia. As the area of the Meerkat National Park used to be farmland, a lot of the trees have been damaged by animals.
These leaves are very tasty to animals, so especially the young ones as they pop up, sheep, goats, things like that. Oftentimes you'll have bark stripped away from how the animal scratched it to get to the moisture that's inside the xylem.
To revive the ecosystem, the Environmental Observation Network, which Kalitz works for, is collaborating with Sandparks, the public authority managing the national park. The area was once inhabited by the black rhino and various antelope species. These days, few animals roam here. But Hendrik Malgus, the park manager, has ambitious plans.
We are busy with vegetation monitoring at this moment to see what are the numbers we can put in. Well, we are looking at reintroducing gemsbok, red hartebeest, springbok, then eland as well. Yeah. That's what we could reintroduce as early as June, July 2026.
Since monitoring the vegetation and wildlife with video traps, Malgus has found that the kudu and springbok populations have increased, but also birdlife has become more abundant, especially around the many little watering holes that provide relief in these arid surroundings.
We've counted about 18 to 22 breeding pairs of black eagle in the park, which is quite a very high number, so that's a very positive thing for the birds and biodiversity in general.
The Karoo was completely underwater about 200 million years ago. Now it struggles with decade-long droughts, making it even harder for life to exist. When white settlers started farming in the area in the late 18th century, they planted alien trees that destabilized the water table for generations, furthering soil degradation and a loss in biodiversity. Hendrik Malgus and his team are therefore clearing the area of invasive species, a process that might take decades. But the conservationist believes that they can restore the ecosystem close to what it was like before, also thanks to the SKA.
We would not have had 135,000 hectares under protection if it wasn't for this project. And a relationship between development and biodiversity and conservation, it is needed. So the one can employ people and can boost the economy and stuff like that, and the other one can look after the environment. So it's a 50-50 relationship that works very well.
Back to Carnarvon and Amy Lee Visagie, whose training was funded by Sereo, the public entity that runs the SKA project in South Africa. The AstroGuide says that the SKA project is already transforming her community.
Since operating in the area, there have been a lot of youngsters that the SKA helped to get out of town, paying for their studies. And then some of those people actually came back after studying and are working on site currently.
As she cannot yet live from astroguiding, Amy Lee works as an assistant teacher at the local high school. Whenever she can, she takes students out into the fields to teach them about the San people's knowledge of medicinal plants and their special bond with nature. Now it is time to prepare a traditional supper for tonight's bonfire.
Most of the kids, they come out of households that they don't always have everything at home, you see. So I think that some of them, They are grateful for the little meal that they get wherever, whenever.
Here, under the stars, the community connects to the sand traditions again. Dancing and singing during a full or new moon was a way of seeking blessings from nature.
They saw nature as something that they should look after and keep safe for themselves and also for their children.
Amy Lee's vision for a brighter future comes alive as ancient culture and modern conservation efforts meet under the same stars.
Well, and that's it for this episode. See you next week for more uplifting stories.
In the meantime, check our channels or write to us and share your thoughts.